Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at some of the earnings reports coming up for the week. If possible, I'd like to do this weekly, but it all depends. Obviously, we're kind of at the tail end of earnings season, so there's not necessarily as big of companies reporting now, so it all depends on once earnings season hits. I would love to do this weekly, so that way we can look at what's coming up. So today we're just going to go ahead and look at, this is a list of every company that's going to be reporting earnings. There are a couple that were left out, and I will spotlight one of them at least. And we're going to see any company that looks interesting that you might want to look at for this upcoming earnings. First off, I would say looking at Cisco. They're a company where you obviously, the way you'd know them, you typically would always see driving, you'll always see Cisco trucks around. So one of the major things obviously is name recognition for companies. So if it's a company you don't know about, it's hard to necessarily invest in them. So I'd say maybe look at Cisco earnings, which are going to be pre-market. So as of the point of this video, they would have already reported, and I'm not sure exactly how that went. I did not look at them. But I certainly should have. But some more exciting ones. Famous Dave's. Maybe not exciting, but we all know everyone likes to eat some Famous Dave's. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see. I'm just going to be scrolling through here and pointing at anything that kind of stands out that might be worth looking at. A lot of these are probably going to be just penny stocks that, I mean, to be fair, I don't necessarily care about, but some people might. I'm not necessarily in that boat, though. So a couple of these pharmaceutical companies are always very interesting plays because usually they're very cheap stocks, and any major boon could send them up 200% in a day. I mean, not easily, but it certainly happens a lot with these smaller pharmaceutical companies. So that's something to always look at in case you're looking to really gamble, because there's also the opportunity that you completely lose everything. Not everything, but a good majority of what you put in. So just something to think about whenever you're looking at anything like that. I would say don't play too aggressive, just because you never know exactly what's going to happen there. But yeah, pharmaceutical companies can be a fun play. Entirely depending on whether they work out or not. But if they don't work out, obviously, they're not a fun play. So keep rolling through here. Advanced Autoparts. That's a known brand. Someone to look at. Certainly not a company I hold. But it is something to look at. They're going to be reporting Tuesday, pre-market, before the market opens. So these will be divided both into pre-market and post-market. Pre-market being before, it depends on what time zone you're in. For me, it would be before 8:30 a.m. And then post-market's going to be after 3 p.m. because that's when the market closes for me. So depending on your time zone, it would obviously change. Fat brands. Fat brands. I don't know what Fat Brands is, but I think I like Fat Brands. So I'm going to go ahead and look at Fat Brands. I'm going to do that. No problem. I might invest me in some Fat Brands. I'm going to be looking it up right now, actually. Fat Brands, huh? All right. Let's take a look at Fat Brands. Let's Google it real quick. It's a horrible mistype. Fat Brands, huh? They make a fat burger. Buffalo famous wings. Ponderosa. What? See, you learn something new every day. I didn't know what Fat Brands was, but now I know what Fat Brands is. I didn't realize they owned Ponderosa. Come on now. I haven't been to a Ponderosa in years, though. Let's move on now. Let's move on from there. This is going to be a major one right here. Tilray post-market. They've been one of the absolute hottest stocks this year. If you look at their chart, which I will pull up real quick for you, just so you can get a little idea. It's been a very interesting time for Tilray. So within a short period of time before the end of last year, somehow, just off of hype, just because of they are a distributor of cannabis products, they shot up to around $214. So from $26, and obviously since then, there's kind of been a good leveling out. In my opinion, they're still overvalued, but that's that's for someone else to decide. I don't necessarily get to decide that, but I believe they are. It's all because weed stocks were kind of very overhyped. So that's going to be an interesting earnings to look at. So that's worth taking a look. Again, that'll be post-market on Tuesday. So that's something to think about. Now we'll keep on going and hopefully find something real neat. I'm sure there will be. There's no doubt about it. So while we're on ending up on the 13th here, there's one company that wasn't listed here I'd like to point out, which would be Blink Charging. Obviously, a smaller company, around $2.83 a share right now. They are one of my holdings, a smaller portion of my holdings, obviously, because they're a speculative stock, and I believe there could be some money here. So I have invested in this company, and I'm willing to if I get any good drop opportunities. Obviously, it depends. They're going to be reporting Tuesday after the market closes, so it's going to be interesting to see where that looks at. So hopefully we see some growth. I'm hoping for it at least, but there's no guarantees. But I think for the future coming up, Blink Charging is something I'm interested in. If we can possibly get some growth and potentially a positive EPS, if they're still making profit, that'd be very exciting. And there's a chance they will in the future, just because charging ports, electric vehicles are going to be a lot more prevalent in the future. So this is kind of a future play, and they currently make them for I believe they help with some of those electric scooter companies, the ones in big cities where you can rent an electric scooter to ride around for a little while. They help making those sort of charging ports, and they're also making some for vehicles. So that's a company that I believe has a good chance to be somewhere in the future. So we're going to go ahead now, move on to the next page, onto the 14th. So take a look at Wednesday, another very popular weed stock, Canopy Growth. That's one to look at, just because you never know what could happen there. It all depends with weed companies right now. One thing could set off a big old chain, and boom, things going up huge. It all depends on what they do. Or if they don't do well, the thing could crash hard. So it all depends. Another one of I'll be looking at is Cisco. This Cisco, the previous Cisco, I'm not personally too worried about, but I've always been interested in this Cisco. Obviously, they make a lot of electronics and database software systems. So I think that would be an interesting company to look at. They've been on quite a tear lately. Over the last year, so it'll be interesting to see if they can continue that up. Beyond Air, huh? I don't know what Beyond Air is, but that seems pretty exciting. You can see Age X Therapeutics. Seems like they might make some anti-aging type things. Well, we'll go. Oh, they did list Blink, but they have it listed under the wrong date. My bad there. So it is listed there, but it's just under the wrong date on here. So hopefully every other date is correct. Dillard's, failing retail company. Don't really care about Dillard's. Don't see much coming from them, obviously. We're gonna move on to the next page, starting the 14th. And see if we can find something interesting. So far, nothing special, but I know we'll find something. I love the symbol PED. That's pretty exciting. Performance enhancing drugs. Not necessarily the best symbol to do, but you will get suspended if you use them. That's all I can tell you. So let's keep on going. There's a lot of these, small therapeutics, pharmaceutical companies. There's so many of them. Whenever you actually look at these earnings things, you never realize how many just tiny companies there are. Vaccinex. Wonder what they do. They better not be anti-vax. That's what I'm saying. Here is a big one I'd like to spotlight. Walmart. Obviously, the biggest retailer in the world. So it looks like we're going to be expecting $130.21 billion in terms of their revenue, which obviously it posts around a 1% increase over the last period. A company as big as Walmart, you're not going to see these major increases in revenue like a lot of these smaller growing tech companies might, where you might see a 40% revenue growth. You're not really going to see that with a company like Walmart just because their bar's so high already. There's not really much room to grow significantly. They can grow steadily, but it'll be interesting to look at how that number lines up, because if they miss that number, there's a chance they could fall. Their PE is a little bit high right now, but obviously they've been on a pretty steep decline. They were anywhere up around 115 a share as of like 2 weeks ago, and now sitting around 105. So an EPS looking for 1.22. As far as that's concerned, it's going to be hard to see if we can hit that estimate, just due to the fact that they're really pushing that e-commerce bill, and that just by itself just is not once you're getting that started, there's just not really much profit as you're trying to find your ground. If you look at Amazon, Amazon's first several years, they never made profit for years, and they were only online. So you really got to find out what you're doing there and how to get that working properly in order to make a profit. And they're kind of in that learning phase right now. So I don't necessarily know how that's gonna work out. So hopefully everything works out fine, but I don't know if they'll be able to hit that target there. Keep going on. We got JCPenney, another dying retail. We don't care about them. JCPenney's going to be going out of business here shortly. Another huge one, Nvidia Corporation, obviously a very popular stock among younger people, just due to the fact that it's such a well-known brand, making computer chips, chips in general. Very well-known brand, graphics cards, everything. So it looks like we're going to be expecting 0.87 EPS, which that's exciting, and they plan to see some growth. Right now the chip sector is a little bit beat down, very beat down, I should say. It's been a rough year for any semiconductor companies, just because of any concerns, both trade war and concerns over pricing and demand. So it'll be interesting. There's a good company to look at, because if they post a beat, they could move up quite high. So it all depends on how they do. And again, this earnings is going to be post-market on the 15th. So that's going to be exciting to look at. We'll keep on going here, and that most likely from what I recall, is going to be one of the last major ones to look at. A lot of these other ones aren't going to be super significant, but I think Nvidia was one of the main ones. Just because at this point, a lot of the big companies have already reported, so there's not going to be as much excitement going on. Obviously, ending right here for the week with Willamette Valley Vineyards. I don't drink, but I'm sure they make a fine wine, so or at least they add to someone's fine wine. So that's exciting, but that's all I got for you, and we can take a look next week if there's anything significant. I don't believe there's any special companies next week, so I don't know if I will, but just a heads up. Hopefully I continue this in the future, and we can take a look maybe at the end of the week at what those earnings looked like. So if that works for you, it works for me. So I will see you next time. Bye.